GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com. And good evening. Welcome, everybody who might support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com. Oh, where's that open? And good evening. Welcome, everybody. Oh, I have it open right in front of me. Okay, so, all right, sorry about that. Welcome, everybody who might be joining us this evening. We're going to be doing a bracket. I have to go find the bracket place, and I should have saved that. Oh, man, what was the name of that bracket place? I have to go find the name of it now. Probably should open that up before the show. We were BSing a little bit before the show. Got DM Foss joining us. Thanks for jumping in.
Oh, no problem.
And big bracket night on Sundays. So I invited a bunch of different people. I don't know if anybody's going to join in for the lateness of the show and the type of bracket we're doing, but you don't by any chance remember the name of that bracket site I was using?
I don't.
It's something called Score or something. Scout Looking, wasn't it? I'm going to have to go find it from looking in the... I talked about it in my old videos, so let's have a chat here. So anyway, I wanted to do a bracket tonight because, it's bracket night. And we did movies. I do movies most of the time. And then I would do things like stuff from movies, like robots and characters from movies or guns from movies and stuff. But tonight I figured let's try doing something that isn't even at all movie related at all. Let's do martial arts. So what does that strike you when you hear we're going to be doing a martial arts bracket? Has this ever been done before? Is this something you're looking forward to? Is this something you're dreading?
Oh, I don't recall ever seeing anyone doing one before.
Okay, good, because I can't remember if we did one before, so that means that we probably didn't. So what do you think? Is this going to be something that's actually challenging, or is like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just going to win everything?
I don't know.
I'm looking to see if I made a note of where I got this bracket from. I think I say it in the beginning of the show, so I'm going to listen to my old show just real quick.
It's a big sci-fi movie bracket.
It's like Score.
But it's a movie bracket. It's happening. So,
Scorecard?
got our co-host here. Got Dan Foss joining us. Washington State.
Scorecard.
Got links out there to a bunch of other people also. So if they're going to jump in, maybe there are a bunch of people who are watching. These two dudes, Ghost and Clover early.
All right, I found it. Sorry for the delay there. So we'll go with there's Chicago Mike out there. Good evening. I don't know if you want to jump in or not. If it's too late or not for you. I need to, let's see, I'll drop this over on the screen so we can all be looking at the same thing here. And then we need to fill it up. So what do you think? Is this going to be an easy one, or is this going to be one that's actually challenging because there's a lot of arts that are, in the same realm or whatever?
I don't know. I definitely have my opinions. I've fought a lot of different styles, and I have known a lot of people doing different styles.
So let me see what I got in the description of this thing. I think I do have. Didn't I have this open? There we go. It's making noise. I just closed it. So I do have some stuff that the robots gave us in the description here, because I always give the robots the job of writing the descriptions nowadays. And wow, is my internet slow? I guess I could probably close my other computer. That'll help. So we got Muay. We're gonna randomize these, so I'll just drag and drop them for now if that'll work. We got Muay Thai. Any feelings on that one? How would you describe it? Let's try this. How would you describe Muay Thai? Is that the one where they're standing in shorts and they basically
Yeah.
kick each other?
Yeah, they're usually in a kind of like a boxing ring, and
It's kind of like
Kick-
boxing with feet.
yeah,
When did you first find out about Muay Thai? I think maybe for me it was in some movie.
yeah, when I was a kid.
And I think that I discount it. I don't think of it as a good one. Do you like it?
They're definitely tough. So there is merit there.
Yeah, and I think that I discount it because I don't know enough about it, and watching it in the movie isn't the same as like understanding why they did it in the first place. So I give respect to that kind of stuff, although I don't know it all. So then the next one, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. What do you think of that one?
They're very dangerous. If they grab you, you've only got a very short time to do something before you get tied in a knot.
Let's see. So without spending all day on them, we'll go to the next one, Karate.
There's, I don't know, there's so many different styles that it's.
We have 16, I guess, with the ones that the robot gave us. Should we make it more? Because that'll make it 32. We have to have double this many. Or I guess I could pull some. Do we need to separate karate into, like, I have the one down from it is, or two down, number 6 there is, I don't even know what that is.
Capoeira.
Capoeira? What is that?
Yeah.
Is that where you stand on your hands and you kick people with your feet?
Yeah, they kind of used dancing movement. It was kind of back the slaves would kind of learn and then turned it more
So it's like
fluid
a very
dancing
dancing
motions,
one.
so they couldn't tell that they were fighting.
So should we pull that and make karate, more nuanced? Or,
Wow, I'm
well,
not
let's keep
sure.
going. So then Taekwondo, I think there's many kinds of Taekwondo too, right?
Yeah, there's there's like Hapkido. Well, if you're talking Korean, Hapkido, Tang Sudo, Taekwondo.
And then Taekwondo is just the one that we Americanized, made our hot dog out of.
Yeah,
Then we get boxing. So where does boxing come from? Is that Eastern, or is that from England or whatever?
the formal stuff. Maybe I'm not sure if it's the English boxed or not, but well, we'll end up in a history lesson because it all kind of goes back to like India, or some people will say it goes back to Alexander the Great.
Boxing or all of it?
All of it.
Okay. So then how did you say that one? Capoeira?
Capoeira.
Capoeira. So is that African?
No, it's like Brazilian. Can't.
Okay. And then Krav Maga.
That's Israeli.
And is that defensive or is it offensive also?
That
one got super popular for a while because it was like
similar. It's similar to karate.
It's like very fast and like divisive. Is that defensive? Whatever the word is, like it's fast and it makes a point, but it's like defensive, right? Like you don't go fight, you don't go beat up somebody with Krav Maga necessarily, but you stop someone from hurting you with Krav Maga. At least that's where I get the impression. Or is that just how people use it, or is that the whole art?
I think that's the way it's used. I don't know. Yankee did it for a while.
Yeah, you talked about it. Judo. Where are you at with judo?
There are some very good principles in judo.
Essentially wrestling, except Eastern wrestling.
It's basically using leverage and getting somebody off balance.
So I would call that Aikido. Is that judo also? Or
it's similar. There's a lot of similarities. Aikido is there's a little bit different.
I know Aikido is fast. Like judo is more like a sport, and like you're going to fight somebody. Where Aikido was from what I understand, was more like walk up, do it, and walk away. Like it's not designed for being.
Well, it's completely defensive, where that's they say you use their their momentum against them.
Right. From what I understand, it was the people who were standing there, and then another army would come running at them, and they were the Aikidos were the ones that would stand there and attempt to like just stop as many people as they could that were running at them, and like not really do much except take as many of them down with their own energies or whatever. Anyhow,
Yeah.
so judo's the wrestling, essentially throwing and wrestling.
Yeah,
So
throwing
what
and
about this
choking.
one? We're gonna get Wing Chun and Kung Fu. I thought they were the same thing. So I thought Wing Chun was just a type of Kung Fu.
It is a type of kung fu. Wing Chun will use
Weapons.
kind of shorter movements, and it'll be. Do you remember? You remember the second Karate Kid?
I mean, I must have seen it. But no.
Oh well, the whole thing with the drum and then the way he moved. That's
Okay.
Wing Chun will kind of use some of that movement too.
It's fast, deliberate, as opposed to flowery.
Yeah,
Right.
like
And
the
Kung Fu,
wooden.
it's like karate. Kung Fu is kind of, I think of it as like a very broad definition of a lot of Chinese arts, right? Or a lot of
Yeah, the way I think Bruce Lee described the difference is, karate is like getting hit with a 2x4, where it's kind of a shorter, strong impact, and kung fu is like a ball on a chain. So they're using a lot of momentum to get the strike up to speed and to hit.
Sorry, I came over here to get some water, but I have never heard that comparison before. I really like that. You said Bruce Lee said that?
I think so. I can't remember if that was an interview I saw with. I think that was from an interview.
Right on. Yeah, that's a great way to just show that there's difference between getting hit, like there's different ways to get hit, or there's different ways to hit. Right. So then, and that also leads you to, if you think about it, like to hold a ball on a chain, you don't need to be a big giant person to hold a big 2x4 and hold it with power. You need to kind of be a big person. So it kind of lends itself to that explanation or whatever that element of it. I think. So I'm down for if you want to remove Wing Chun and put something else in there. Like if it was me, I would put Aikido in there instead of Wing Chun. But next up is kickboxing. Is that a thing? Is that an
Yeah,
actual?
that's
I guess
kind
it
of
is.
that's like in between karate and Muay Thai.
I was gonna say I would have said like Taekwondo and Muay Thai or something. Where does kickboxing come from? Islands?
No, it's kind of karate.
Oh, okay. Sambo?
Sambo, that's Russian judo basically.
Oh, really? So does that deserve a spot in here? I don't even know if I have any experience.
In the third John Wick movie,
Oh, okay.
the guys that are doing martial arts, they're doing Sambo.
Is that like I guess I just have to remember. Which one's the third one? Is that the last
That's the one with the dogs and Halle Berry.
Oh, that one. I don't remember.
But they'll wear like a gi top and then shorts.
Okay. I mean, I think of a couple of different Russian things. Those are kind of interesting, and I don't know. Like they definitely have their own. So the next one is Kendo and Hapkido. Well, I guess Kendo is swords.
Yeah, that's the
Japanese
bamboo
sword.
swords.
Oh, you know what? I think of Kendo as those big giant pants and it's like fencing, Japanese fencing. It's more
Yeah.
like not just swords, but like swords in a very deliberate, like sport way, right? And then what's Hapkido?
That's Korean.
Just
Can
like a
you
Korean
move-
version of Kendo.
No, it's I don't know. That's one I haven't really looked into. I know growing up, one of my friend's dad, who was a Vietnam vet, he knew Hapkido, but I didn't really talk to him about it.
Oh, and then they do have a Kido on here versus Jeet Kune Do. Interesting.
Can you move our picks to the side?
Yeah, I'll get rid of us. We don't even need to be on here. If anybody else wants to join in, I did send out links. I've got invites to the. Well, I can also do this. I've got invites to channel members and Patreons. Well, that doesn't help really. That helps a little bit better. And I'll pull us off. So if anybody wants to join in, feel free. I just pulled us off screen so we can see the screen easier. So it ends with Aikido versus Jeet Kune-Do. So I like Jeet Kune-Do the best, but Aikido's like second best for me. So those two, that would be a tough one. But again, I know a lot of people hate Aikido or don't like Jeet Kune-Do maybe. But since it looks like it's just us and the people chatting with us, we can do 3 votes. We each get a vote, and then the audience gets a vote. All right, so got Chicago Mike out there. You're saying hey out there, and then DJ's out there. So Chicago Mike is still out there. Otherwise, DJ's going to just be playing from home, I guess. Let's see. So DJ's talking about Muay Thai is fun to watch. And then Kickboxer, the Van Damme movie was pretty much the first time he's seen kickboxing, or Muay Thai.
They were doing Muay Thai.
Oh yeah, I can't even think of all the movies the way they came. First we had, let's take a second just in case anybody joins us if you got time. You got into it from watching movies and then wanting to do karate or something, or from doing
No,
karate?
my dad taught in our garage. That's how I started.
Okay, so you were around karate your whole life, and then movies also were like about karate, and that was interesting. But it wasn't like the movies had any influence on you. You just knew about it, and then also there was movies. So then, when you'd see movies about the stuff that you didn't practice, were you like, as a little kid, or were you like, wow, those things are neat. I want to learn all these arts.
It was.
Because a lot of times kids are like, I know this, so that's all I care about. Like, I like baseball, so hockey sucks, that kind of.
No, it would be like, a movie that used a different style. As long as the movie was cool, then it was a cool movie. And kind of as I got older, then I would read up on or go visit other classes if I could, were around them, and just kind of watch them, see how they do stuff. And then like doing point tournaments and stuff, then you come across other styles.
Okay, so then that's a question. So then there's tournaments. It's like Little League or something. Like as a little kid, you run around being like a karate kid going to these tournaments.
Yeah.
And then those aren't like just a whole bunch of karate people fighting karate. Every once in a while, their different arts get together.
Yeah. Other than like when I was a kid, I did a Butokukan, which was a really small style. They would have like the all Butokukan, which was only them. But there's lots of tournaments where whoever signs up can participate.
Oh, okay. So it's more like a martial arts tournament. And if you bring this art, it's just up to you if you can fight that art against the other art.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And was that an element, or was that like most of it was karate and then some Taekwondo people would show up?
Most of it would be karate and Taekwondo. So, some Kempo, but Kempo is kind of karate.
Yeah, I would say, at least when I was growing up, I would see Kempo karate. So I assumed Kempo was just some flavor of karate. And then I would see Wing Chun Kung Fu. So I assumed Wing Chun was some flavor of Kung Fu. But that's, whatever my experience of the places that I see signs for. So I don't know what that means. Just like there could be 7 different ways to box, but there's really English boxing and American boxing, right? Like, but there could be a million different like styles of boxing, I guess, depending on how the athlete did it or something.
Yeah.
At least for U.S. boxing.
Are you a counter puncher, or, if somebody's aggressive?
Right,
style,
exactly.
They're going to be
Somebody's
different.
like style is to stand there and get hit until the other person gets tired and then punch them, right? And then there's the person who left hooks all the time or whatever. They're still all boxing. But then there's also that weird boxing. Have you ever boxed the way where you stick your hands out all the way kind of and you kind of come up? Like when the old like the olden days boxing, when they were in black and white movies boxing?
Only goofing around.
Yeah, me too. Like I've never fought anybody that way, but I've punched punching bags that way, and I was surprised like how much power you can get with that goofy upside down punch looking thing, like in the movies. It's like you're using your triceps or something. Like there's a lot of power there. But at the same time, it's super easy to block, I guess. So when somebody's actually not just boxing you but fighting you, like it's gonna be kind of useless to try to come up and over at them like that, or under, I guess. I don't remember. But anyhow, all right. Well, so do we want to adjust it all? DJ is saying, what about sumo? Should that be in the bracket? Does it count as
I
martial?
wouldn't, because it's. I mean, the more people do it now, like the sumo stuff they do in the U.S., which I can't stand. But
Oh,
if they're
really?
having fun, then whatever.
Well,
But it's not.
Are with the inflatable suits. There's like some kind of sumo happening here with
Yeah.
white little people or something.
Yeah.
Because we're not big enough to do sumo, or maybe we are big enough to do sumo.
No. The most the tournaments in the U.S. that I've seen, they would get killed in Japan.
Yeah, they're just plain old fat people, not like sumo wrestler.
Well, most of them aren't even fat people. It's just like wrestlers.
Oh, okay. People trying to muscle everybody. Yeah, that's not going to work with sumo.
Yeah, it is amazing when you see sumo matches. I've seen it in Japan and Tokyo. Yeah, those guys are fat because they want a low center of gravity, but their leg muscles, each leg is as big as the referee. It is amazing how strong those guys are.
Well, it's just like when you watch people weightlifting, and there's the people that just lift barbells and they look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then there's those people that lift like anchors and big ass cannonballs and pieces of log, and they throw the piece of log around, and those guys just like look like the Hulk or whatever. Like they'll never win a bodybuilding thing because they just look like a tree. But yeah, like they can just pick up things that forklifts usually pick up. So I know
Jerry says he's going to jump in a couple minutes.
Yeah, I saw that. Thanks. So we'll get another guest in here to help vote. If DJ wants to jump in, like I say, we've got other links. If Chicago Mike is still awake, you're welcome. Otherwise, all the channel members and Patreons, if you're awake and tuning in, feel free to jump in. So assuming we're not changing anything, or are we going to change some things around? My thing was Aikido, and I guess it is in the list, so I really don't. My personal preference is fine. I'm going to shuffle them, though, for sure. So I'm going to hit shuffle 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And right off the bat, it's going to be tricky. So I hit a shuffle just one more time, just going to have to do that. That's kind of a sucky thing to do. So that would have been a tough one. Karate and Kung Fu came right up on top of each other. That would have been tough. So we'll wait for Gizzard to come in here. And I might hit shuffle one more time just so that nobody gets all too worried about what we're hearing here. But we'll go through them again. So Muay Thai, let's say we both have to vote yes on it for it to be in there. And then the audience can decide if we change our minds. So Muay Thai, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Boxing, I could kill boxing. I don't care. Boxing is kind of old for me.
I think it should be on there.
Okay. Jeet Kune.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm fine with all of them. Whatever.
Okay. All right. So then the only ones that I would say is this Capoeira. I can't remember.
Capoeira.
I don't know of too many people doing that. And if it's really all that applicable, especially when you get like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that are more like, used by actual people. But I don't know what to replace it with. We got sumo, and nobody else really suggested anything. Unless you've got when you were kind of apprehensive about karate, now that we've gone through the list and we're, potentially going to edit some things here, is there some ways like that we should or could divide up karate?
Because there's a million different styles now because somebody breaks off.
Is there like
from a
2
dojo
major
starts
ones, or 3 major ones or something?
Well, Shotokan is one of the big ones, one of the old ones.
And how would you describe like Shotokan?
That your traditional, how you would imagine traditional karate. That's Shotokan.
Breaking pieces of wood and karate chops.
Yeah.
Blocks and like from the center out, just kind of standard blocks.
Yeah.
And then nothing fancy, like not dancing around and not jumping around, just like standing there and owning the place of land that you're on and fighting.
Yeah.
And this is karate is like what they would teach the majority of troops, right? Like karate's like your general purpose fight, be offensive and defensive type of thing,
Yeah.
and be healthy. It's also like exercise to some extent.
Yeah. And there will be a difference between what you see in the US and what in Japan. Because at least the way it used to be, I don't know if it's changed. I haven't done it in a while, but the the stuff in Japan was a lot stricter, tended to be a lot tougher. The stuff we had here were service members that learned it, maybe got a black belt, came over here and started teaching it, and
Hmm.
kind of
Yeah, like immediately
Americanized it.
Americanized it. What about Tai Chi? That's a big one that I like.
Ooh, what would you replace?
Oh, definitely Capoeira, or even what was the other one? Sambo, which I don't know anybody that does Sambo for real.
Probably one of my favorite judo throws I learned is one that's is used in Sambo. But
Oh,
yeah, it's I would say either of those because Tai Chi is going to be way more popular than either of those,
did I spell it right? TAI.
as far as I know.
Okay, I don't remember how to spell everything. And then for Sambo, what do you think about what is that Russian martial art called? I'm a big fan of Sistema. You ever heard of Sistema? You looked at that at all?
No,
People don't
I'm not
like it.
familiar with that one.
It's kind of like, in some respects, it's kind of like Jeet Kune Do because Jeet Kune Do is like Bruce Lee going, let's make a version of Kung Fu, kind of right. Like let's make Kung Fu more universal. I
Well,
don't know.
yeah, he wanted to kind of pare it down, simple.
And get and then yeah, and just make a fighting. Anyway, so I would definitely concede that Jeet Kune Do is essentially a type of Kung Fu, or at least a derivative of Kung Fu. So I think I don't know where it comes from, but Sistema is it's very. You ever seen Jim Kata?
Yeah,
It's kind of like Jim Kata. I mean, but if you ever seen like, have you ever seen Russian calisthenics, like Russian Spetsnaz troops or something doing their
yeah,
PT?
yeah.
Gizzard jumped in. Someone Gizzard saying, "Hey, I will go over to YouTube and grab a Sistema thing." So I'll show you what Sistema looks like. But hey, Gizzard, thanks for jumping in.
Hey, thanks for having me. And I gotta warn you right now, I don't know squat about the subject matter.
That's fine. You can have an opinion, and you don't have to be an expert. I was just going to say, did you do any kind of fighting or any kind of martial arts or anything like that when you were growing up?
No, can't say as I did. Uh, got friends that have. Yes, I've got a couple friends that have belts in karate and stuff like that, but didn't. There really wasn't much of that around me when I was growing up. Tiny little town out here in the sticks. So.
While I'm trying to find something from Sunny, ideally, uh, when did so it looks like Foss got his first uh, experience with martial arts just by living in his house. When did you? Can you remember when you first experienced martial arts, or got into it, or figured out about it, or saw a movie with it, or whatever happened?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you were exposed to the culture from time to time. I mean, I grew up in a time where, the series Kung Fu was on TV, so obviously we knew what martial arts were and stuff like that. But
I'm gonna
if you
grab my
remember
water.
the
I'll be
old
right back.
David Carradine series,
I don't know how much. I'm going to turn the volume down on this. I don't know how much actual kung fu there was going on. If I remember right, it was supposed to be Bruce Lee's thing, and they didn't want him. So then they got that dude. I think he chained with Bruce Lee though to attempt to do it right or whatever, or look cool.
yeah, my audio cut out on you for a little bit there, so I missed what you said.
Oh, I don't know if maybe it's because I'm running this video over here. So essentially, I'm probably going to get copyrighted because we're talking over this thing. But I don't know if Foss is back, if he's seen any of this. Have you ever heard of Systema, Gizzard? Am I still working? No?
I'm not sure if it's
Yeah.
you or it's me.
So, Foss, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it must be Gizzard. Anyway,
Okay, let me restart and I'll come back in real quick.
okay. Are you seeing this? This is Systema. It's very much like Aikido, I think, except a little bit more jumping around.
I'll say if it works, but it's really sloppy.
Oh yeah. It's really goofy. And the thing is, Russians, when they train, they're really bouncy. They do a lot of like, it's like gymnastics. Like they'll jump over horses. They'll run around on balance beams. They'll do piggy. What do you call that? Jumping over each other's back. Leapfrogging each
Leapfrog.
other. They'll roll around. Like I've seen them jump down a hill and like roll down the hill. They do this like gypsy, like calisthenics stuff, and they become super limber and strong, like super strong, and they're just like willing to jump into stuff, like willing to jump into some bushes. They're just like, there's some people in our military that do that stuff, but most of the time we're not like doing some of this stuff. So anyway, it's kind of like Aikido mixed with uh, some sort of gymnastics, like type of, because a lot of times the martial artists aren't necessarily super muscular. So there's some moves in here that you got to be pretty muscular to do. Like they'll just like boxing and punching and arm holds and stuff. This was all before Jiu-Jitsu. But it was very much like Aikido, just designed to like a lot of century dispatch. Like if somebody's just standing there, ways to just knock them down, they're not getting up again. Whether or not they live is up to them, but they're not going to get up and bother you again. A lot of those kind of things that don't really apply most of the time, and that's why I think one of the reasons some of these arts aren't used. Like defensive stuff, you can hold back and just not hurt anybody, but some of these arts are essentially for hurting people, so you're not really going to use them in real life unless it's like dire, so you're going to be hurting people. I don't know. So is that any better, Gizzard?
Well, so far anyway. Cross your fingers.
Yeah, see, now I'm getting a weird. That's weird. Oh, dog's snorting. I got a weird cutout from you there. I don't know if I misheard that. But I guess I don't know where we were at. I think we're going to just go. We could probably fine tune it for a while, but there's no need. We're just having a casual bracket on a Sunday. So what I'll do is zoom in so we can read these things read these things a little easier. And I guess we'll be able to just do this without the participation of the audience, but feel free as the audience to be part of this whole thing. I think I'll hit shuffle 3 more times just so that nobody gets butthurt or anything. So first one, Muay Thai versus Tai Chi. Oh snap! Right off the bat, have you heard, you know the difference between you know these when you hear them at this point, Gizzard, or is this like
I've only heard of Tai Chi. I've never heard of the other one. So
I think a Muay Thai is like the guys in shorts that look like boxers, and then they're dancing around, like jumping around and kicking each other instead of boxing with their arms. But they're super athletic, usually real skinny guys, super muscular skinny guys who are going to be kicking each other.
Yeah, in
There's a
Thailand.
couple of movies. Oh, from Thailand, yeah. So there's a couple of movies that you'll see them. I guess Kickboxer, right, is where.
Yeah.
Is it Kickboxer? Is that the right movie where he shows up and he's whatever he is, and then other
His
people
brother
are
gets
showing up
killed.
at the Kudakai or whatever, and he has to go to the fight. That's sort of like what mixed martial arts came from. Or no, is it mixed martial arts came from there, or what is that called? MMA. No, yeah, that is the same thing. So I don't really know. So, but it's not wasn't there another movie called that, or another movie with that premise? Anyway, I guess I'm mixing them up. Tai Chi. How would you describe Tai Chi? That's like old people stretching. That's like they're very slow. Like you'll see people doing Tai Chi in a big group. It looks like they're doing slow calisthenics in the morning. And they'll be doing Tai Chi like in a park. Tai Chi has swords. So it's a very it's from China, and it's a very showy. Like you're going to be moving your arms a lot. Trying to think a movie with Tai Chi in it. But you've heard of Tai Chi, you said?
Yes.
Okay. I can't think of a movie with it. I don't know what happened to Foss, so maybe it's my internet. Have I been breaking up?
Not since I came back, anyway.
Okay. All right, so then what are you voting for?
Well, let's see. Depends on how I vote. Do I vote in terms of what I could possibly do, or what is more interesting to me? What is more interesting than me? I'd have to go with the first one. I enjoy some MMA stuff. That kind of stuff is really interesting. So let's go with that.
All
And
right.
I can't pronounce that, so I'll just
Muay Thai. I don't know if I don't know. I think the robot spelled it, so that must be the way to spell it. I'm going with the other one. I really like Tai Chi. They use
Okay.
swords. So Foss will be the tiebreaker on that one if he can come back. Otherwise, it looks like Tai Chi's. I don't know why it's picking Tai Chi. So I guess it just picks the last one. If anybody out there wants to vote, feel free. We'll go to the next one: karate versus Hapkido. So, karate is easy enough. Karate Kid.
right.
Hapkido. I don't know what Hapkido is. If Foss was in here, you could tell us. Do you know Hapkido?
I do not. We need an expert.
I think he said it's a Korean version of karate. It's a Korean martial art. It's a form of self-defense that employs joint locks, grappling, throwing techniques, kicks, punches, and other striking attacks. It also teaches the use of traditional weapons. Oh, okay. Including knife, sword, rope, nunchaku.
A little
The
bit of
cane,
everything in there. Okay.
yeah, short stick, staff, so it's a karate, gun, and the bow. So nice. Hapkido includes the gun. So I'm all about Hapkido then. What was it against? Oh shit,
Karate.
it's against karate. We got more people joining us. So I don't know if people are going to be participating or not. And I don't know if Foss is going to be able to jump back in or not. So were you voting karate or Hapkido?
I'm going to vote for Hapkido.
I think I am also. So we'll see. That one will definitely get pushed. Next, we get Judo versus Kung Fu.
I've heard of both of those.
Kung Fu is probably my favorite of all things, and I don't like Judo at all, so I'm definitely voting Kung Fu.
Yes, me too.
Judo is, right, that's the fat dudes pushing each other. Yeah, take it or leave it. I get it, but I don't like wrestling either. Kendo, and then Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is, the one everybody loves right now. I mean, I get Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the concept of essentially chess and wrestling. So there's a lot of moves, and there's a lot of people doing it, and there's a lot to be learned, I guess. And then there's a lot of people that say it's like a good experience, I guess, to be going around rubbing up on other people and getting yourself kicked, your ass kicked or whatever. So there's a lot of people that like it. Kendo, on the other hand, is essentially, the swords with the big pants and the face masks. It's like Eastern fencing, Japanese fencing.
That's a tough one. I'd have to go with Jiu-Jitsu on that one.
So I'm not the biggest fan of that, and I'm a big fan of Kendo. So we'll let Foss break the tie on that one. How did this one? Can I delete that? Good. I was going to say, how did that one get kicked, and all these other ones aren't making me kick them? So then we get boxing which we all know, I think, and Krav Maga. You know both of these?
I do not know what Krav Maga is.
Oh, that's the one from Israel, I think, and it is the mostly defensive. Like, somebody comes up to you with a gun, and how do you get rid of them? How do you, get out of that situation? Somebody comes up with a knife. How do you get out of that situation? I want to say fairly new, but I first learned about it maybe in the
So
90s.
two completely different things here.
Oh, yeah. As far as I know, boxing is essentially a sport. Like, I'm sure a boxer could kick your ass, but a boxer is going to be very regimented, I think. Where Krav Maga is essentially like a weird kung fu that's like a defensive kung fu. Oh, stick fighting. I didn't think about that one. That would have been a good one to mix in here. Well, I'm going to go Krav Maga. I've never done it, but it seems interesting to me, and I'm not that.
I'm going to go with boxing on that one. That's because I know way more about that.
You ever watch boxing fights?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. So I never watched a boxing fight ever, so I never watched it.
Yeah, when I was growing up was the big time of Muhammad Ali and stuff like that, Joe Frazier. So yeah, it was on TV a lot when I was growing up.
Oh shit, we didn't have Jiu-Jitsu in here. And we didn't have ninjutsu in here either. Dang it. So now we've got kickboxing versus Jeet Kune.
What is Jeet Kune?
So that's Bruce Lee's art. He created it from Kung Fu when he came over here. So he was born in the United States, went to China, became a Chinese actor and learned Kung Fu, came back to the United States and eventually became an actor again, and then wanted to develop a Kung Fu that was more of a mix of life and martial art. So it's more of like a lifestyle type of thing. It's got a lot of mental stuff to it, although it's very adaptive. So it's a martial art that it attempts to. I thought he was born in California and then moved to Hong Kong quickly after. Anyway, it's a art that does it. It's not kung fu because it's a kung fu that adapts to incorporate anything from anything. So if you like kicking from karate, take it. If you like kicking from Taekwondo, sure, take that also. So it's like be whatever is necessary at the time and don't have a favorite. It's kind of a real zen. There's a lot to it. Anyway, so it's Bruce Lee. And then kickboxing is, I don't know what the fuck kickboxing is. I guess it's just Muay Thai without the shorts, or it's like from that move. I don't know what the difference is between kickboxing and Muay Thai, really. I guess kickboxing is essentially boxing without punching.
I think kickboxing, as I recall, you didn't do it with gloves, and it allowed kicking and hand boxing, but I don't believe it involved any wrestling moves or anything of the sort.
Yeah, like you'd never let you tie up or get
right.
They'd separate you, and you never got on the ground. Nobody kicked anybody on the ground or anything. So which one are you voting for?
I would vote for the Jeet Kune. Sounds more interesting to me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then we've got Wing Chun and Taekwondo. So Taekwondo is kicking.
Right.
And then Wing Chun is a type of Kung Fu. And dang, I don't know what the difference is with Wing Chun versus regular Kung Fu.
Well, I've had friends who've been involved in Taekwondo, so I'll go with that.
I'll go with the other one just because the same thing. Like I know people that did Wing Chun. For when I was a kid, there was Taekwondo and there was karate, and then there was Wing Chun, and that was the Kung Fu, and that's where you could start playing weapon or using weapons like 2 years in. Like get in there, stick around for a little while, you're using weapons. So that was the school to go to. The other ones, like Taekwondo, would let you use weapons when you were like a green belt or more, or something like a blue belt or something. Like you had to really be in for a while before you were ever going to touch anything. So that's right. got my first experience with Wing Chun. And nobody screwed around with the kids from Wing Chun. Ting Ting is saying Wing Chun is an older version of Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah, you got to know a lot of these things have origins that are common.
Yeah, and I learned a lot of this stuff, at least the words and the exaggerated, cartoonish versions of them from watching all the Kung Fu movies back in the day. And, it was a lot of my school is better than your school, or I'm coming over from my school to whoop your school. A lot of that stuff was happening, and that's where you'd hear some of these. And then, you'd see all the different versions of Kung Fu, for example, or like, how many different ways you can do Kung Fu. I don't know if you watch those kind of movies.
Once or twice.
Yeah, for us it was like Saturdays, and then eventually once we had VHS stores, you could go to the right VHS store, and they'd have like a wall of Kung Fu movies. It's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, they were really big back in the day.
Let's see. So I'm gonna go read some of these comments. I guess let's do the last one. So Sambo and Aikido.
Okay, I don't know either one of these.
Aikido is Steven Seagal. Everybody hates it, but it's one of my favorites of all time. So Aikido, from what I understand, is Korean. And imagine if back in the days when you'd have horses and people with swords and people with sticks and whatever running after each other, but not that many bows and arrows or guns. So you got a bunch of people running towards a bunch of other people. And your Aikido is when that person who's running, a group of people are running to fight. You're going to take those people running and trip them and have them break their neck. Like do something to them really fast, like Steven Seagal would do, so that they fall on their own sword, or like just fiddle with them and now they fall and they trip up over their own legs and they die. So your Aikido is, from what I understand, like you're supposed to be that first wave of hand to hand where you're just going to try to stand there and let as many people die by their own means as possible before you get killed. And then other fighting starts happening. But I might be misunderstanding it. So essentially, the way I understood it is also that that's where the people who were using it back in the 80s were coming up with Aikido, because it was designed to just quickly take people out. Like if you don't want to fight, you just need to not be fighting anymore. And that person, if they die, that's on them. Like, but you're not going to be fighting anymore. So if you need to break an arm or a leg or a windpipe or a neck, that's great. But you're just going to do something very quickly so that that person's not fighting anymore. And that person they didn't always know they were in the fight. So that's where I come from Aikido, is like the sensory disposals, the people that are like, think of a Marine who's going to walk up quietly and take somebody out without a shot. You're using Aikido for that. Or like a SEAL who's going to do hostage rescue or something. You need to take out somebody who's Overwatch. You're going to sneak up and Aikido them. You're going to break their neck or do something with a stick or a knife that's going to quickly dispatch them. But very aggressive and very lethal. So it doesn't get a lot of, the versions of it that you do in classes are not all that interesting. So I think a lot of people don't like it for that reason. Sambo, I don't know anything about. I think he said it was like a Russian Judo. I might be wrong about Aikido, but that's where I understand, at least from back in the days. I remember Aikido being alluded to when I was thinking of martial arts as like punching and chopping and throwing and grabbing. The people that were coming up with it, mentioning Aikido, we're talking about like just ending other people. Like, if you just need to come up and end them, you use some Aikido. Or if they're coming at you and you just need to not be fighting anymore because something else going on, then you got some Aikido happening. I know that it's originally defensive, but I mean the people that were applying it to what I'm talking about were applying Aikido, and not like they weren't going up and kicking anybody. They were going up and essentially just making sure people fell over. Anyhow, so what are you going for? Sambo? Aikido?
I'd go for the Aikido.
Yep, I guess I didn't sell Sambo very good. So I don't know if Foss is coming back in. He's out there chatting, so I guess he might have computer problems here. We're an hour in, so I don't know what to do on some of these ties. I could try doing a poll. We'll see how active people are. So the first one will be between Muay Thai number 1 or Tai Chi number 2. And we'll see just how fast people react out there. And if we get, let's see, there's 8 people watching, allegedly. I'm one of them, that means there's 7. If you're one of them, that means there's 6. So if we can get 4 votes, and someone
Yeah,
might
I don't have the YouTube up right now, so I'm not one of them.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, if we can get 4 votes, then we'll say the audience can vote on this one.
I was trying to keep my bandwidth down in case I was having issues.
Oh, that's smart. Well, I tell you what, we did get enough of a vote to make Muay Thai the winner. So we'll end that poll. And then the next poll is going to be between Kendo, number 7, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, number 8. So there's definitely people that like BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Super big following right now. Almost nobody likes Kendo. So I'm guessing BJJ is going to win. It's already starting off with the lead. We only got 1 vote, so maybe this won't work.
Maybe I could bring this up on my phone and I could watch your voting that way.
Oh, sorry. I can bring the voting over here.
We'll try it anyway.
Didn't it used to let you pop the poll out, or am I crazy? Maybe that was an old iteration of this thing. Hey, there we got him back. Did your computer die?
Yeah, my laptop is shut off. I don't know what's going on with it. I'm on my phone, so
Oh, okay.
hopefully this will work.
Well, thanks for jumping back. So let's see. You can help break ties then. Right now, we got we got 2 votes for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You want to vote for Kendo, or let Jiu-Jitsu win that one?
I would have to go Jiu-Jitsu on that one.
Okay. So then you can break the tie on boxing, Krav Maga.
I would probably go Krav Maga.
And then Wing Chun, Taekwondo.
Ooh, that's a toughie.
Have you done both of these?
I've done a little bit of Wing Chun. Well, one of the styles I did incorporated Wing Chun into it, and I fought a lot of Taekwondo guys, and I can't stand them. So I'll vote Wing Chun.
Okay. And then we won Aikido over Sambo. We put Jeet Kune over kickboxing. You can disagree with any of these if you want. And then we did Kung Fu over Judo. And I named it Kung Fu because that's the way I like to spell it. And then Hapkido over Karate.
Yeah, I probably would have disagreed with all those, but it doesn't matter. I would have been outvoted. So.
Well, you would have been 2-1, and then if we would have had another person in here, we could have made it a little bit more interesting. So with that, we'll, in the effort of time or whatever, or for the time constraints, we'll go on to Muay Thai. Oh, you want to take a second and upgrade any of my explanations that you were probably out there swearing at me because I was explaining them wrong?
No, that's all right.
All right. So if we get any of these that you want to update the definition better, feel free. Like Hapkido. I just went and found that on Wikipedia. So Muay Thai versus Hapkido. Gizzard.
Yeah, I'll go with the first one.
Muay Thai. I'm going Hapkido. So Foss is the tiebreaker on this one.
Ooh. I would go Muay Thai just because they have more experience fighting, actual fighting.
Doing stuff with their art other than just practicing.
Rather than sparring.
Yeah. That's a big thing, and that's where some of these, I think some of them get a lot of like street cred, right? Over some of them that have just been around for a long time and proving themselves forever. Kung Fu versus Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We'll go the other way. Foss can go first.
I'd have to go Jiu-Jitsu. I've seen a lot of Kung Fu guys get knocked out.
Gizzard?
Same, Jiu-Jitsu.
I'll go for Kung Fu anyway, but won't win. Let's see. So, Ting Ting is saying, never heard Hapkido, but I can't stand karate. A lot of votes for BJJ and the Muay Thai. Muay Thai probably had the most votes of anything. Then we get to Krav Maga and Jeet Kune. Let's go Gizzard first on this one.
I'm gonna go with Jeet Kune on that one.
That's where I'm going. How about Foss?
I was thinking Krav.
So we'll see what the audience thinks on that one. But otherwise, 2-1 on that one. And then Wing Chun. Did you have a way to describe the difference between Wing Chun and Kung Fu? I didn't know that one.
I would say they're a little more compact movements. So the punches don't swing quite as wide. It's a lot of power from your hips and your shoulders turnings.
Wing Chun versus Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. Foss, how about you go first? Wing Chun versus Aikido.
I'd say Wing Chun.
Gizzard?
That's what I'm going with too.
How bad was I off on my definition of Aikido? Everybody likes my definition of Aikido usually. I'm getting it from like 80s VHS tapes. So like my remembering from 80s VHS tapes. I know it's not like current accurateness or anything.
Well, Aikido is defensive. They'll say they are defensive. They will slip in, like with the movements, there's ways to slip in like elbow strikes as you're blocking or redirecting.
Like knowing how to stop a running person is mostly defensive, but every once in a while, when you know that, you also know how to just knock somebody over who's just standing there. So you
do
things with it.
Because like Steven Seagal, he did Aikido and another style, which was a striking style.
And that wasn't unusual, right? Because like Judo or something, you're not going to rely on just Judo and go out in the world. Judo and everywhere, just like you wouldn't rely on just wrestling or just Taekwondo or something, right? You're going to...
Well, like Judo and some of the styles like in kind of Aikido is though they are one part of martial arts kind of picked out, and then they concentrate on doing that one thing, that one part.
Yeah, and they just keep thrashing it out, doing more or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so then there was probably an element of it to the different schools or whatever, right? And then like some of the schools just needed to exist, and some of the schools, it worked better in the cold or whatever, and some of the schools it worked better on a slippery rock versus grass or something. So some of them were probably, slightly different for reasons. But anyway, so we're down to the semifinals, I guess. Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know who's first. I'll go first. I'll go Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on this one, I guess. It's not my favorite, but Muay Thai is just kicking, right? So I think it's more...
Well, there's punching. It's like boxing and kicking.
It seems like it's a little more useful. But because the thing is, Muay Thai was one of the things. How did it go? MMA, and then now the UFC?
Well, the UFC was before MMA.
Oh, okay. And that was where they were like, hey, let's bring ninjutsu and like kung fu together and see who's better. Then let's bring karate and taekwondo together and see who's better.
When the UFC started, it was the Gracie family wanting to showcase their style. That's why they started it. And the first tournament was heavily weighted. The way it was set up was to favor them. And I mean, I'm not saying that they weren't good at what they were doing. It's just,
to show that everything else was a bunch of show, though. Like, we really want to fight, then you need to get in there and start fighting.
Yeah.
So,
then it got bought out and kind of morphed into what it is now.
Didn't they all start from like essentially what the kickboxer movie's about, like where people would just get underground, would get together and fight each other and see which art was the best?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I thought. At least that concept is where the people who started it were like, hey, let's do that. Except let's do it up and up or whatever, out in the open. Anyhow, so then Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu won that one. So now it comes down to Jeet Kune Do and Wing Chun, two types of Kung Fu. Who saw that coming? I kind of figured karate would be up here. Maybe Krav Maga. Where's kickboxing? Is that how is that different than like Taekwondo or?
It's a lot like Muay Thai, but a little more karate-ish.
Okay, so it's a little less jumping around, a little more sport.
Yeah,
So, well, I'm going with Jeet Kune Do. It's my favorite. Who wants to vote on this one?
I was going to go with Jeet Kune Do.
Now, Jeet Kune Do is Bruce Lee and a book, and I guess a couple of people who trained from Bruce Lee. Wing Chun is like how many millions of people in China? Probably.
yeah. Bruce Lee did some Wing Chun in his younger
He
days.
came from Wing Chun, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
the brand was Wing Chun?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
he was. Oh, he was born in Hong Kong, and then when his family was touring in the U.S., they got him a birth certificate,
oh, okay.
and then he came to Seattle. A lot of like the movie Dragon takes place in San Francisco. All that happened in Seattle. He
Right.
went to the UW, but for some reason they moved it down there for the movie.
But I
I'm
guess
gonna
it depends on what biography you watch of him. But I was just watching something that I thought it said that he was born in California and then quickly moved to Hong Kong.
Oh
Grew up
no! And he's buried in Seattle. I've been to his grave. Him and his son Brandon.
All right, so who's voting? Oh, wait, no, process votes.
Ooh, I'm just gonna vote Wing Chun. That's yeah.
So I don't know why this one. Oh, wait, did we finish voting up here?
I think so. I think
We all
Jiu-Jitsu.
voted for Jiu-Jitsu, right? I think I just didn't write it down. Or wait, did anybody vote for Muay Thai?
I think I did.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Same with that. All right, so then I'm just going to go try to figure it out. So we got, not going to be biased, pick both Jeet Kune Do and Wing Chun. Jeet Kune Do and vote for Wing Chun. So that was probably from before, though. So it comes down to what I assumed it was going to come down to, because I assumed BJJ, if there was a bunch of people on the panel, would have, been a hands down fan favorite. But it's coming down to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu versus Jeet Kune Do. I know everybody knows my vote. What are y'all voting?
Yeah, I'll go with the Jiu-Jitsu just to make it interesting. Make
Oh,
Foss
shit.
make the,
Foss is answering. This is all Foss's bracket.
the whole thing is up to you.
I'm kind of torn.
The real one or the real, authentic, cool one? That's essentially what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm torn.
I mean, there's no way somebody who's really good at Jeet Kune. Well, I'm sure somebody who's really good at Jeet Kune Do could wail on somebody who's brand new at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or doesn't know nothing. But pretty much Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the dominant art martial art.
I would have to go Jiu-Jitsu just because they're going to be stronger.
We almost got it, though. Almost. If enough people would have been in here, we could have got it. But I still say that, it depends. Like, somebody who's got the right mindset, doesn't matter what they were born learning or whatever. The mindset's going to win. It's just that right now, the people with the mindset do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You could want to do Jeet Kune Do, but you're never going to get as many people that want to fight you and will fight you the same way. You know what I mean? If you had the same intensity of people wanting to kung fu each other, I think that'd be awesome as shit. We just don't want to do that. We want to wrestle each other for whatever reason. I guess because there's a lot of cops doing it and a lot of SEALs and stuff. And like I say, think about it, if you're walking up on somebody and you got night vision on and you walked up on them, they don't know you're coming, and you you're doing your thing and you need to take somebody out, you're not gonna just, it's not like in the movies where there's suppressors or so quiet and stuff. You're gonna go up and grab them and stab them, or grab them and break them, or grab them and throw them, or grab them and do something, or grab them and bag them. You're gonna do something where you're grabbing them, so you need to be able to grab them, and you're not going to be able to Jeet Kune Do them for the most part. You're not going to be karate chopping them or like flipping them or doing anything. Although Jeet Kune Do, by its definition, can do everything Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can do, right? Like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu should fit into Jeet Kune Do technically. So I think that, again, if people had a different mindset, if a bunch of Chinese people who knew Jeet Kune Do, I guess, taught all this, special operations people, they'd be going in and saying something else, and there'd be all kinds of JoJos for it. But the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu won out. Thing is, what I don't think about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I think its failure is, or its weak point is, get up off the ground. Like, what if you're not on the ground with somebody? What do you do with
Well,
Jiu-Jitsu when you're not on the ground with somebody?
The other thing is, what if there's two people attacking you?
That's what I mean. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu only works in a mat where you're not getting stabbed, bitten, or like eyes gouged out by somebody who really wants to kill you or blind you or kill you, or like you say, 2 people, 3 people. You can take out one and you can get really strong and get good at like hurting people, but you're just going to hurt their hands while they stab the hell out of you.
There was a guy that I would spar with, that he was a 2nd degree Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he was very dangerous if he got a hold of you. So the key was, you don't let him get a hold of you, or if he grabs you, you immediately do something to stop it. Whether it's biting him, crush his nuts to the throat, anything like that. Otherwise, he's going to tie you in a pretzel.
Oh, sorry, I was taking a second to make a poll so people can chime in out there, whether or not, if you're here live, and it's free, whether or not this was a good result tonight, if you agree with the result. Yeah, it's hard to disagree. I just don't have to like it.
Well, I don't like MMA stuff, mostly because I don't like the people that watch MMA. the ones that wear the graphic T-shirts and that are too small.
Oh, like CrossFit type of people that are all like into wrestling constantly?
Yeah.
Or they talk about fat people that have never wrestled since high school? I don't really know who watches this stuff. I mean, I guess the people that do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu probably watch, and then the people that are, at the top end. Well, I don't really know what we're talking about. Or what what you're talking about is people that are all Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at this point, or are there still other arts that show up?
Well, there are the guys who all do the MMA stuff now, kind of do everything. They might have started out in like karate, or started out in judo, but then they learn to strike, or they learn to throw, so that they can do all of it.
Well, and that's really the big thing, right? I think the biggest thing of all martial arts is that it's like, I don't know, plumbing and electric or something. If you don't know nothing about electric, you're not going to be a good plumber, because you're going to be doing dumb things in the walls that piss off electricians, right? You're just going to be doing dumb things that are unnecessary because you just are not paying attention. So, you got to be at least aware of all the different stuff, and then try some of it, like have some of it in your toolbox. At least I feel like that.
Yeah, that there used to be a tradition of, like in Japan, guys, black belts that would travel to other schools and other styles so they can experience, something. If you only train with people who are doing your thing, you're going to have holes that you don't know are there until you fight somebody else that does something different.
Right. And it's hard to disagree with like the cops. Like I listened to a bunch of these interviews, and they're interviews of people that did military stuff. And a lot of times they're currently cop or had been a cop for a number of years before they, stopped that second career to do something else. So there's a lot of cops doing this stuff, and they are going to be in court. They're going to be training with people that are just doing jiu-jitsu, but then they go out on the street with everybody who's doing everything. Like, they're definitely getting experience with fighting people hands-on with all kinds of goofiness, probably mostly just chaotic, right? But every once in a while, somebody who's really good at something, or like a high school or a college wrestler or something, like somebody who actually knows how to do something, and then that cop has to adapt and deal with it. Or maybe like a boxer, right? Or a kickboxer or something, and that person's drunk or pissed or something.
Yeah, I used to love, and when I get wrestlers, when I was teaching, and you get wrestlers that come in and they want to wrestle, so I would always spar with them, because they would freak out the first time you take like your big toe and shove it up their ass, because it's something they've never experienced before. Well, I don't, maybe they have at home, but while sparring, it's something that is outside the rules that they're used to using.
Like literally kicking them in the butt.
Yep.
All right, so trying to read some of these. Wait, hold on. Gary, did you ever do any kind of martial arts classes or any of this
No,
kind of stuff?
sure didn't.
Okay, like oh, okay. So DJ saying he was fat, so ground game just made gravitational sense. Talking about being a kid or whatever.
There's
Being big doesn't help you on the ground always. I mean,
well,
if there's somebody little under you, maybe, but you got to be able to get up, and people that know what they're doing can just pull your arms and legs around.
when if I throw somebody, depending, kind of, there's a lot of variables in there, but a lot of times I would use my weight. So as I shift them up, get them off the ground, and then drive my shoulder and my weight into the ground, punish them. So there's, that weight isn't necessarily a bad thing, as long as you can still get back up and not just wallow around on your back like a turtle.
That's the thing. Yeah, you got to be able to get up or whatever. I don't know if these are comments, and I'm sure they're out of order. But DJ's saying pulling guard is counterintuitive, but maybe outside of the more than two attackers. I don't know what that means.
If I understand it, because it might be kind of like what I would do used to do. I don't do it anymore. Like with shoplifters, you end up with a sleeper hold and my legs wrapped around their stomach, so I'm on their back, and then I pull them back on the ground so they're laying on top of me, and then they can't move, and I have complete control over them. But that's only if I've got somebody else with me, because I've had somebody come up when I did that outside. Somebody came up, and luckily I did have somebody to get them off me, get that second person off me.
So essentially, like I've seen people, I think what you're talking about is essentially pull somebody's head and body so that they are bent backwards, so that they're not in any inch, they can't do nothing about it, and they can't really do much except sit there. And you're essentially taking them out of commission or whatever until somebody else comes along and handcuffs them or calms them down or something.
Kind of basically like if you were giving me a piggyback ride and then I put a sleeper hold on you at the same time. But I would then try and pull them back to the ground. That way we're not moving around and nobody gets hurt. And then when you choke, like the Michael Jackson impersonator that got killed because he got choked, that's the problem. Is the people that put on the choke will get that adrenaline rush, and they get really hyped up, and they choke for too long. And it doesn't take very long, depending on the choke, especially. Like an air choke, basically you can sustain as long as you can hold your breath. A blood choke, where you're cutting off the arteries, that's really just a few seconds, and then they can go black. So when I would do it, I would always put their trachea in the crook of my arm, in the elbow, and then I would loosen a little bit, and move my elbow around. That way they could breathe, and the blood would flow, and then cinch it up a little bit to regain control. But you can't just cinch down for, 3 minutes. You're going to kill them.
Oops. So then Ting Ting says, kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think what I liked about Krav Maga when I first heard about it was a get off of me, but it was also like, I'm not going to be effed with either. Like, let's stop this. And it was a mindset type of thing, I guess. That was, I don't know, fresh at the time. When did Krav Maga hit the United States? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
Maybe like say in the 90s or something was when I first started hearing about it.
I've got a book with different styles and some of their techniques, and one of the Krav Maga techniques it shows is a backbreaker, like from wrestling, where you slam their back on your knee, break their back.
Yeah, I got the impression that Krav Maga was like a bunch of people sat around and said, what's all the coolest stuff, like the most effective stuff, I guess, from all these different fighting styles, and then let's put them together and figure out some way to teach that to people, like in mass. And it's also like an exercise, right? Like it's I don't want to call it calisthenics. It's something like you can learn it by exercising, like a lot of martial arts.
What Yankee had said was basically you kind of work out to get exhausted and then do the martial arts. Yeah.
But it was sort of like the Karate Kid, like you're waxing on because you need to know that motion quickly and strong, and the only way to do it is practice. So it's essentially working out. And there's a couple of them that are like, remember Taibo? Like it was essentially taking it to the extreme.
Billy Blanks.
Yeah, running around exercising, but you're really just kicking and chopping and doing weird moves and stuff that were just a little bit more interesting than just aerobics.
Yeah, that was one thing that kind of drove me nuts. Was at WSU there was somebody teaching aerobic kickboxing, and every now and again I would hear some of the female students talk about how they're learning self-defense. It's like, no, you are not learning self-defense. You are just working out. I would murder you.
So Iron Road is out there. Welcome. He says, I don't agree with Kung Fu beating Judo. Kung Fu is a lot like, what is that? Wushu?
Wushu.
What is Wushu?
Kung Fu. The more flowy kind of Kung Fu.
Oh, okay. Purely performance. So I definitely agree that there can be some artistic element, but I mean, literally all of them, like, Chuck Norris movies and Bruce Lee movies and anybody else's movies have always been somewhere between the art and then like dancing almost, like, or, what I mean? They're definitely like they're time compressing and like doing things in such quick sequential whatever that like very few people are going to have that kind of ability to keep up a fight, like watching Bruce Lee like plow through people in a fight or whatever. Like there's people, there's not situations like that. But at the same time, I mean, how's that any different than Rocky or something where it's the same kind of thing in boxing? It's just that it's two people and it's took an hour to do it. But so is Judo more realistic than Kung Fu though? I always thought Judo was very showy, and I mean, sure, if you were going to fight with somebody, but same kind of thing as the grappling. Like if you're going to get to where you're grabbing somebody and shoving them around, you're going to get stabbed or bitten or puked on or something. Like I don't want to go grabbing somebody and pushing them around if I can help it.
Well, there's good stuff to know from judo. How to manipulate somebody's weight to get them off balance or redirect their weight and their movement. Kind of Aikido-ish. A lot of same principles.
But more like in a wrestling way, because you're slowly moving them, and where they're trying to put deliberate pressure, you're going to slowly move that pressure as opposed to like quickly redivert the pressure. Well, maybe not. Maybe sometimes in judo you're just grabbing them and moving them too. I guess I don't know. So Ting Ting is saying, I've only weighed 100 pounds most of my life. I have to fight dirty. And then also added, I've been practicing Krav Maga since a teen in the late 90s. So that's interesting. It sounds like it's done more than a couple of things, and including Krav Maga. So how many of these would you double up? How many arts do you think you could do at once before it's too many, or it's just you're just going through the motions now? Like, how many does a person normally?
Well, I don't think there can be too many, as long as you are devoting enough time to learning each one of them.
Imagine it's kind of like instruments. Some people can play a trumpet and a guitar and a piano, and some people, can only play one or two tunes on all those. Right, so I'm trying to do these. I don't know if these are in order now. So Iron Road is saying, considering I'm a brown belt in Kung Fu and a green belt in Taekwondo, I can say it lacks grapple and ground game severely. Judo has the grappling game. A high school wrestler can put a monk to shame. Wushu is Kung Fu but with swords. Oh, okay. I'm a brown belt in Kung Fu and a green in Taekwondo. So Judo for the ground game and Kung Fu for what? I mean, you're a brown belt in it, so what was his other thing? Judo. So I don't know. Is he envious of the judo, or I don't get it? But at the same time, if you're not using it, I like the idea of some of these as not just exercise, but as kind of like playing music. You can play music just because you like to hear the music and you like to know how to play it, and you find it interesting, and you like exploring the different instruments or the different types of music on the instrument. You don't have to necessarily learn a martial art just because you want to go get into fights all the time, or your fear of something, right? It could be like buying a firearm. You could just like revolvers and buy a bunch of them because you think they're cool. It doesn't mean you have to go to the range and shoot them every weekend. So I guess I can understand practicing an art and not necessarily needing to have it apply to real life. If that's the case, do any of these appeal to either of you? Or any of these? I think if in that case, if it doesn't need to apply to real life, I really think Tai Chi is one that I would make time for.
No, I would get, when I was teaching, I would get people that did it because they want to learn self-defense, or some people would do it just for exercise. And then some people just did it to learn it.
It can be like a dance, right? It can be like a creative expression type of thing, or like you said, like an exercise, like this gets me my blood moving, and it gets me my joints moving, it gets my flexibility and my strength going. I mean, I can't imagine exercising some kind of martial art on a regular basis and having any kind of normal aches and pains that a regular old person's going to have, right?
There was a guy that went to our club that he was in a wheelchair, and he did it just because it was a way to socialize with people. He carried a gun, so he didn't really have to know a lot of technique, but he wanted to be there just to be around other people, and to socialize.
So Gizzard, you get all expense paid uh, class or whatever at a dojo, your choice. Any of these on the menu sound appealing? Which one you?
Well, a lot's gonna be, what kind of person my age of limited mobility, what could I possibly do and what would be most beneficial to my body. I'm sure some sort of exercise like that would actually be good towards improving flexibility and strength and stuff like that. Plus, just, general moving around and stuff like that. Not so much, learning all the skills, but what would benefit me physically the most of all.
There's a lot of older folks that do Tai Chi in the park just for
Yeah,
that
that's kind
reason.
of what I'm thinking. That's something that people of all ages could do.
Is Tai Chi Kung Fu or is it different?
It's Kung Fu.
Okay.
But it's low impact and helps with mobility, flexibility.
I think I like what Ting Ting's going with. Tried many types of martial arts to figure out what was the best for self-defense. I practiced Tai Chi for health and Krav Maga for defense. So Iron Road is answering with Kung Fu, Taekwondo, and Karate. Best teach the fundamentals, basics, or at best teach the fundamental basics of striking. At worst, it's fancy calisthenics. Tai Chi is more meditative art of Kung Fu. I guess that's a good way to describe it. Um, I don't think that fancy calisthenics is a bad thing or like a negative though. So, I don't consider that you'd be a better fighter if you were able to do fancy calisthenics without breaking a sweat. I get what he's saying. So, would you consider like being a kid and getting a brown belt in an art or a black belt in an art? That's something that they don't take away. So, like if you're a little kid and you're a black belt, I don't know how long it takes, a couple years in to Taekwondo or something. Is that the same as an adult saying like, "Hey, I'm a black belt"? Like, if you got your black belt when you were 14 or something, does that apply when you're 37?
Yeah. I don't know. That was always kind of a tough thing for me is working with kids because there's some really talented kids, but a black
Yeah,
belt kid is not a black belt adult.
I mean, I played really good piano. I couldn't play I couldn't play any song. I barely play chopsticks now. Like, what I mean? I used to be really good on the piano when I was being told to do it every week. But anyway, I'm just thinking, yeah, like, if you become any kind of rank of anything as a youngin, unless you're the person who keeps doing it for the rest of your life, then, and you're probably going to be more than that by then, right? Then you're going to be black belt times 10 or whatever they call it, stripes
Yeah.
on it. Or do they do like a black belt for kids and then a black belt as an adult? Is that a separate thing and I'm just missing the point?
Everything that I've done, yes, it would be you could get a junior black belt, and then I'm not sure how. I don't remember how it would translate as they got older, but it was considered a little bit different.
Okay. Because I guess that makes sense. Because I've seen little kids that are like 7 and they're black belts.
Well, shit, I've seen somebody gave their monkey a black belt.
Oh, nice. Sorry, I'm washing my mouth out a little bit. So, I don't know. What are we missing? We did a bracket here. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came down neck and neck to Jeet Kune. We tried to include as many as we could. We let a robot make the decisions. We barely altered it. If we would have included Tai Chi, where do you think it would have done any better than any of these others?
Well, you did include Tai Chi.
No, I included Aikido, but I didn't think of Tai Chi until the very end.
No.
We didn't have Tai Chi. Oh, no, wait. No, we did.
Yeah.
We had Tai Chi. It just lost to Muay Thai in the beginning. Okay, yeah. So I just missed it. I forgot about it. Aaron Rhodes saying it takes an average of 4 years to get your black belt.
It depends on the person and the style.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure. And if you got to have like national, I remember, I think it was in Taekwondo, and you were only going to get a belt when it was the regional, national, whatever significant thing that you had to wait for. Like, you weren't going to get any belt anytime sooner. And if you missed, then you had to wait for the next one.
Taekwondo is a money generator, so you got to have money to get your black belt.
Well, I mean, I just mean it was like you weren't just going to wherever YMCA I went to get your belt. Like, you would practice and stuff at the YMCA, and then you had to go to this whole other place to like get in line and go to a place like it was a day event where everybody was doing their testing and stuff. Like that was a bigger deal than just here's $10, here's my black belt. But I have no idea. I didn't do that very long.
There's a lot of testing fees in Taekwondo.
Iron Road is saying Taekwondo is the highest degree is 9th. Dan? What is Dan?
Just it's like 9th degree.
Okay. All right, well, if we didn't miss anything, then hopefully everybody satisfied with a 90-minute martial arts bracket. We might do something movie related next week, maybe something gun related, maybe something else. If somebody comes up with an idea for doing something in the bracket in this time slot, maybe I should do it an hour earlier. Let me know. I don't know. I set it up probably out of instinct at 10 for some reason, which is more than midnight, I think, for everybody usually, but for a bunch of people. So if I should have done it earlier, let me know. I don't think anybody does anything on the regular on Sundays anymore.
No, I just had a real weird schedule tonight. I didn't get much sleep, and around 7 o'clock this evening, it's like I was pretty much beat, and I decided to go in and lay down. And next thing I know, I'm waking up at midnight. It's like, okay, this is going to be a weird night.
Sounds like down here. So are you hitting any of this heat that we're getting?
Yes.
Yeah, it was easy enough in the middle of the day to just take a nap when it's hot outside, and it's even hotter sitting in front of the computer. I can just turn all this stuff off and wake up when it's nice out. Taekwondo black belts are regulated by South Korean institution. They set standards who can test and promote. Okay. Reminds me of the 9th Dan sword fighter showing off all his sword skills, and the guy pulls out a gun and shoots him. So there's Kenpo, or Kendo, I guess. And then what else is there with swords? I guess Wing Chun, you could get a sword eventually. But I didn't know of anything that would teach you swords.
Tai Chi has swords.
Oh yeah, that's true. A couple of different kinds of them too. But I didn't know anybody doing Tai Chi.
Then Japanese have a couple different sword other than Kendo. Like Aikido is just drawing the sword.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what I always miss, because I don't know nothing about this for real, is all the intricacies of it is the bow. Like there's a big chunk of bow and arrow stuff in all this too, right? That's pretty interesting, especially when you get onto horses and just being all cool about it and shooting fast.
Well, the Japanese stuff is not fast. It's very
I've seen the slow long bows, but you know what I'm talking about, where they hold like 5 arrows in their one hand and then they just go choo, 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 choo. I think all of them, pretty much anybody back in the day could do that. Maybe they didn't do it all the time, but you know what I mean? Like that's just how people, I was watching some show and they think that's how people shot arrows back in the day. I mean, the first time you've seen somebody do that, you know it can be done.
Yeah.
But no, I know what you're talking about. They like very precisely and slowly,
Very kind of formal.
formally. That's the right word.
Yeah.
You're saying it's pronounced Don? Okay. That I don't know how to say, so you can spell it all you want, but I'm not going to say it.
And for like Taekwondo, it would be Dom, D-O-M, D-A-M, Dom. Like third degree would be Samdan. I don't know Korean.
Because that's Korean. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of it, right? Like learning the art, learning the culture, learning the what's the words, like there's more to it, the mindset and the focus, right? There's other stuff that's part of the martial arts I find interesting, at least, is boxing is kind of straightforward. You're going to punch this person and here's how you're going to stand, and then you get into some of them and before you know it you're into Tai Chi, and now you're essentially dancing slowly in a park with a bunch of old people, and it's still martial arts. Ting Ting is saying the Japanese make art out of everything, but don't the Chinese do the same? I don't know about the Koreans, but I'm assuming the Koreans did some of that. The main thing is where the Chaco come from.
What's that?
Where did Chacos come from?
Yeah, Okinawa.
Yeah, so that's all that really matters. Everything else is wannabe nunchucks. So. Oh, maybe we could do one instead of on martial arts, the best martial arts weapon.
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
I don't know if we'd get much fight on that one if people weren't eager to do the arts themselves. I don't know if they'd be down with the weapons, but usually people have at least some interest and some opinion on the different weapons. So Muay Thai, do they even have one? Shorts. Tai Chi, cool swords. Karate, I mean swords, chucks, sticks, bows. Hapkido.
Tonfa, Sai.
Oh yeah, shit, all that. Hapkido has all that. Judo, big fat diapers. Kung Fu, pretty much everything we just said, plus add a bunch of swords and staffs and stuff to it. And then probably weird stuff like buckets and jars and things. Kendo, it's bamboo swords and those cool pants. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like oil and gloves maybe. Actually, you're probably not even allowed to wear gloves. So pants and then them shirts that they wear. Boxing, you get gloves, that's it. Krav Maga, I don't know. It's either everything or nothing. I don't know what Krav Maga is. Do they have any
I
weapons?
think they're at least knives.
I mean, I've never taken Krav Maga, so I'm sure that I know they take away weapons from people. So then kickboxing, you got your shorts, I guess. Jeet Kune be like water, so technically everything is a weapon. Wing Chun, I don't know. Is everything a weapon in Wing Chun, or does it? I mean, I think of what is that, a kama? For sure.
That's Japanese. Butterfly swords. I used to have some. They got stolen
Butterfly swords.
out of my car.
A kama on a chain is not Chinese.
No, it's Japanese.
Oh, I figured that was a rice thing. So what else is Wing Chun? Like a stick, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Taekwondo, I don't know. I mean, we had sais and stuff. We've got tonfas and that. I don't know if that was okay, but we always had that stuff. Sambo? You said that was like a Russian
Judo.
so I imagine they don't have nothing. Vodka bottles, broken vodka bottles. And then Aikido is whatever the other guy brings. That's the Star Wars tree. Like whatever the bad guy brings, that's what you're using against the bad guy. Chinese will use butcher knives. We don't care as long as the outcome is brutal. No art form needed. Nice. I always think of boots as being the weapon in Krav Maga. Oh, well said. Okay. We didn't include wrestling. Well, mainly because I let the robot pick it, and we removed something. I removed that one that looks like dancing.
Capoeira.
We removed that one and put in Tai Chi. I think that's what I did. Krav Maga uses everything in a fight. War is not fair. So I figured it was either everything or nothing. And then Bobbit, Oh, I know what he's saying. Okay. Let's see, sword or tonfa? I guess he's saying karate. So we throw down all these different karate weapons we just talked about. Gizzard, which one are you grabbing? Which two were you grabbing?
Darn, I was hoping I could use my gun.
What if you got to be quiet? You got to be quiet and stealthy or something. Or maybe you're going to arm a monkey. You don't trust this monkey with a gun.
Well, I don't know. I really don't know.
Voss, you got any preferences out of the pile of martial arts?
I would either a knife or an harness stick.
A what? A stick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a bow stick is like one of the smartest things to be able to get good at, like doing stuff with. They're just everywhere. And they're super useful. But nunchucks, awesome. They're definitely the coolest thing. And I guess the knives are pretty good. But like Book of the Five Rings says, I think it's Book of the Five Rings instead of art. I think it's Book of the Five Rings. He says, don't have a favorite weapon. Figure them all out. Use what's available. All right. Well, with that, we're going to end it. We've got a couple of votes coming in for a martial arts weapon bracket. We might not do it next week, but we'll definitely consider it in the running. We want to thank again scorecount.com, the place that I was using to make this bracket. Scorecount.com. They don't pay us. We don't pay them. We just use their bracket. I don't save it or nothing, but it lets us put a bunch of stuff in there. It does a pretty good job of letting us use this visually on the screen. I do appreciate their effort over there. If you want to check them out, looks like they do a whole bunch of other things in this kind of realm. I want to say thanks to Gizzard and Foss for jumping in. Both of these two host shows. You guys want to chat about them at all?
There might not be a Wednesday chat because I don't know why my laptop died.
Oh
no.
So if I can get it up and running, then I'll have a chat. If not, then I won't.
We'll definitely be having a Friday show on my channel Friday night at 9 p.m. Central. And we'll be back to the even number episodes, so it will be an Aegis gun care night. So hopefully we'll have some fun. Don't have a topic in mind yet, but we'll come up with something for the end of the week. So hopefully everybody can be there.
Right on. Well, hopefully, it's not going to get any cooler. Hopefully, everybody has a good week beating the heat, and you got Gizzard's show to look forward to. Hopefully, the laptop is good, and we'll have a Wednesday and a Saturday show. Ting Ting saying thanks to everybody. Thank you for joining in, being part of the show, as well as C&T, DJ, and Iron Road. I agree with him that stupid little heart thing they put there is super annoying.
Yes.
If you don't know what we're talking about, it's on the mobile, and it's horrible.
There's a way to get rid of that, by the way.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
How do you do it? Do you know?
Well, when you set up your chat, once you set it up in StreamYard, then go back into your YouTube studio.
Oh, I can do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to be the person who actually sets up, because it's controlled by the person who's setting up stream.
Okay.
But you have to, once StreamYard creates it, it's out there in YouTube Studio, then you can go in and there's an option you can turn off for that.
Live reactions?
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks. Okay. I wonder if I can set that by default. So I just turned it off right now. Thanks for letting me know.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the 17th thing that Gizzard has known to like that.
It's because it annoys me too.
Oh, no. Yeah, I actually looked for it one time and I couldn't successfully. I said, how do you get rid of the heart on a YouTube thing or something, and I found all these explanations on like if someone made a comment to a video and included a heart, what you could do about it, which of course is nothing. So it was
Yeah.
like I just went off into this whole like tangent of the internet trying to figure out how to ask the internet what I was asking, and I could never find
Yeah,
it.
the trick's to figure out what the terminology is for it.
Yep. Or to ask Clover, and he would just ask his best friends that work at YouTube.
That's true.
So was everyone okay with the result tonight? It looks as though 67% of the audience was okay with the result, which means that 33% of the audience is a fan of Jeet Kune. So let's see. We ended the poll, and Ann Road said it worked. So yeah, right on. Thanks very much for that. I will definitely, anytime you see that, let people know so that we get in the habit of doing that. And if I can find a way to set that in my defaults, it'll be defaulted on all my channels because I hate that stupid thing. And it's useless, and no one even sees it. Like, it only happens on the live chat, right? Like, in front of all the people that are already being blocked by it. Like, it doesn't happen anywhere else that we see it. Like, on the live, it's not happening on our side live for sure. It's definitely not happening on StreamYard. And I've never seen it happen on the YouTube browser.
No, it's a new feature that YouTube started rolling out a few months ago, and it's kind of a beta thing, from what I understand.
Yeah, it needs to
And
be
I don't know anybody who's a fan of it personally, but they're kind of going out. If it's something that Facebook kind of had in place in their chats, so
I can leave it in Facebook. All right, well, that's the end of this one. Thanks again to everybody. It looks like it worked, so we know that that's a thing. And if I was missing something else from that kind of tangent there, while you guys are just talking about how wrestlers, I don't know anybody that wants to fight a wrestler. Like, pretty much anytime I listen to people who fight and they're talking stories to each other or something, if it ever comes up, like a high school / college wrestler is always the one that teaches somebody, like, I thought I was really good until, or like, normally everything's good unless, and then it's usually something like that that ends up messing with it. And it's probably just because you end up learning how to fight when you're young. And I don't know. I think it's one of those things, once you know how to fight, you're just not going to be messed with anymore. Like, you're not going to forget that skill set because it's a valuable skill set to have. At least I don't know too many wrestlers that, let that stuff go. With that, we'll end this one. I guess I'll throw another ad up here for the store since I can. Feel free to grab stuff over there. We'll be adding new stuff and sewing. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back next week.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.